Hey guys, welcome back. I just wanted to share a couple of things. Actually, I have some challenges that I've been dealing with, but also the topic that I want to talk about is gratitude. I want to talk about how gratitude affects you, it affects the people that are around you. And I want to give you a little bit of a story, but just as far as a background, I'll let you know quick where I'm at is I've been working with Tony Grummeyer, and this is his journal. It's called Be Fulfilled. And every week on Sunday, I go through a couple of reflections and some thoughts to consider and some things that are going on. And one of the weeks in here that we're talking about is this is the thought to consider is if you were asked to speak at a graduating class, what would you say? And in my mind over the last week, one of the things that's been a predominant thought has been gratitude. So when I read that, I actually read it that if I was going to talk about gratitude to the class, what would I talk? What would I say? And so that was just because that's where my mind thought. It's not exactly what the question is, but that's just where my mind thought was at, and that's what I was thinking about. And so what I wanted to share with you is just one of the things that I've heard more recently from my grandfather by marriage is that he had an incredible illustration about gratitude. And I apologize in advance. I might get a little bit emotional about this because it touches very deep nerve in me. And I know if it's touching me this way, it's going to touch somebody else in a manner. And I really, truly hope that this can be a blessing for you or something that's going to just totally change your mindset for the day. So here's a situation. My grandfather was actually an airborne. I believe he was an airborne ranger. He never, as with everybody that was a veteran of World War II, almost every individual, they didn't like to talk about it. They didn't like to express their feelings about it. They didn't want to talk about the experience. They didn't want to talk about anything. And so for our generation, it was very, very difficult to get that information out, to understand what they've gone through and to understand what they've sacrificed. We had the unique privilege of, with our situation, is one of my aunts, I think it was, actually did an incredible interview with them. And they recorded it for posterity's sake, obviously. And so they were talking about some of the things that he had gone through, and he shared some of the funny things about how they were bartering and laughing, and how he figured out how to create and take a pack of cigarettes for something else. And I mean, like, there was just a lot of funny things that happened throughout the war. You get a lot of stress. There's going to be funny things that happen. He's remembering those, but then he also remembers some of the stressful times. And one of the things that came about was the fact that he was one of the troopers that jumped in on an operation called Market Garden, sorry. Operation Market Garden. So I get them mixed up. But this operation was conceived out of the brains of all of the generals, and the whole purpose of it was to be able to stop and end the World War II by 1944, by Christmas in 1944. And the plan was to drop a whole bunch of people in behind the lines. They were going to actually take and control the Rhine River with all of the bridges to be able to have the advance go in. The second phase of that was all of the ground troops that were supposed to meet up with all of the air troops, and then that was going to be the support structure, the whole 9 yards. What they didn't anticipate was how aggressive Germany was, and they didn't anticipate how demolished a lot of the towns were. And so as he was telling some of the stories about the fly-in, they were actually talking about, he was discussing the fact that they had to go in on gliders, and the gliders were super light, so all of the flak and everything else that was flying up, the bullets that were flying up, was actually causing the turbulence. And, if you've ever been in a plane and you've traveled a little bit and you felt that sudden up and down drop, well, in a glider, it was nonstop. And so there was a lot of guys getting sick, a lot of guys throwing up, a lot of real motion sickness that was going on. Add on top of that the stress of the fact that you have bullets flying up. They had to sit on their helmets to be able to protect themselves from the bullets flying up. And then obviously the anti-aircraft was going off. I mean, like, tons and tons and tons of things going on. Finally, they get the green light. They're all jumping out. Okay, so they're all coming down the big parachute things like what we see in the movies. Interestingly enough, they actually made a movie about this whole operation called A Bridge Too Far. So my grandfather was actually a part of the air storm troopers, or the airborne troopers that were actually dropped in on that. And so as he got down on the ground, they all met up with their groups. There was lots of confusion. Again, we've seen lots of historical facts about that. But as they got down, they got in their groups. They figured out where they were at, what they were doing, what their goal was, what their mission was, and the whole 9 yards. And they're moving from city to city. What they didn't understand, or what they weren't able to do, is as they met the people, what they didn't understand was, as they were meeting the townsfolk, that there was this hope and there was this energy about the townsfolk that they just couldn't understand. The first thought is, okay, well, yeah, they have that hope, or they have that attitude because they feel like they're coming in to be rescued, but I think it's something deeper. So as they walked into the towns, I mean, you think about this, the anticipation that they didn't understand is Germany had just pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded these towns. I mean, talking night after night of bombs landing on the outsides of everything. So these townfolk, the people that lived in these cities, they found that everything was being destroyed. Everything from their homes to where they go to shop, to the doctor's offices, to the places that they go to play, the worship services, the churches, the synagogues, everything. Everything is just being totally demolished. There's not really more than one wall standing on any one building. And as they looked at that, they were amazed at the attitude that was coming out from the townfolk, and the fact that they still had that hope. They still had that. And so as they were walking down Main Street, the thing that shook my grandfather the most and actually broke him down into tears was as he was walking up, they saw what used to be left of the church. They could still tell it was a church. The only way they knew it was a church is because of the fact that the pulpit was still there. But what they also found out is that the townspeople had gotten together and actually created a banner. And in the banner, what they had done is actually wrote, "Give thanks in all things." So here's a couple of individuals, a couple of people that live in the town that have lost their home. They've lost the means to survive. They've lost their food. They're basically scratching and clawing for everything that they've got. But yet they were able to give thanks in all things. They were able to have a mindset of gratitude. They were able to have hope because I believe of the fact that they were able and willing to set aside and actually focus on the things that they had and that they could be thankful for. And that just shook them. And it's touched a nerve in my soul. It's touched a nerve in my own life. And I wanted to share that because when we look at our own lives, how much more stuff do we have to be able to be thankful for? Yeah, you might be sitting in traffic. You might be in a traffic jam. Yeah, we might be stressed because we're trying to get a bill paid or this or that. Or we don't have exactly enough money to be able to go out to eat like we want to. But we still have food. How many more things can you be grateful for? One of the things in the Be Fulfilled Journal is they actually ask for 3 things to be grateful for every day. And a lot of people sometimes struggle with it because it's a daily grind. It's something that you have to do on a regular basis. But my challenge to you is if you look at a person who has lost everything and they can turn around and they can say, give thanks in all things. And yet we are so blessed in where we live and the fact that we've got homes and heats and food and our needs are provided for us and we've got opportunity. And yet we often are not grateful. So by focusing on the things that you can be thankful for and things that you are grateful for, not only does it impact you, not only does it change your mindset, not only does it change the things that you look at in your perspective, it also ripples out and starts to affect other people. And so out of everything that I want to get at, my challenge to you is what are 3